Tuesday, September 2nd. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Penny Arcade Exposition, Part 1.
Friday.
Let's do this. Hello, peoples. You have found us. Congratulations.
You win. Winner is you. We're Geeknights for all you new people. I know there's a lot of you.
I hope you know that before you clicked on whatever you just clicked on.
Yeah, because otherwise a rickroll might have been waiting. But real briefly, of course, to all our normal listeners, of course, we're back from the West Coast, back in the safe and wanting harbors of the East Coast.
Nice Atlantic Ocean.
You know, we didn't even get to see the Pacific Ocean.
Well, it's actually, I thought Seattle was like in the Pacific Ocean, but I was wrong. I had only looked at maps that were too zoomed out to realize.
Yeah, well, you learned something. But no.
Yeah, I learned I still have to see this Pacific Ocean.
But real briefly, for all you new people, and I know there's a lot of you because we met a lot of you, and there were like 58,000 people at PAX. But Geeknights, 4 nights a week. This is Tuesday night Geeknights, talking about gaming. We have other nights of the week. You can figure all that out from the closer bit if you don't want to hear about it now. And in case you're wondering why this episode came out on a Wednesday night, that's just because we were fucking wrecked last night.
It happens sometimes. I mean, you try doing a show 4 nights a week and see how far that gets you.
Yeah, especially because PAX, I mean, for many of you, PAX was like the event of the summer. For us, PAX was the last of many conventions.
Isn't New York Anime Festival in 3 weeks?
Quiet you. I don't want to
2
even think
weeks?
about that. Oh my God.
Something like that. And then what? Katsucon's in February.
But if you're here, that means you probably enjoyed at least something we did at PAX. So you'll probably enjoy this. But in case you don't, well, I don't know. You can keep listening.
Or just never listen again. If you don't like it, don't listen.
However, this is the point where normally we talk about gaming news of some kind, but I realize we've got like 8 hours of PAX coverage in our brains and like an hour or so to do it in the show. So I think we just got to move right along.
Yeah, 'cause I have to go to bed at some point tonight. All right.
Just take work off tomorrow.
All right, so you want to just do, we'll do the things of the day, and then we'll just do PAX.
And with that, things of the day. I think this bit, for all you new listeners, once again, is kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, my thing of the day is, I'll often make comments, about games, mostly memorpagas, as the Yahtzee is known to say, right?
We did just talk about EVE Online.
They did, okay. I'll have to go check that out.
It was pretty exactly what I thought.
I didn't see that yet. But anyway, so I often make fun of those games as saying it's just a database. All you're doing is changing, data in a database somewhere. Like when someone buys money in WoW, they're basically paying someone to basically type in update set gold equals number where user ID equals them.
Except the guy won't type that until you play a grindy minigame for like 1,000 hours.
Or give a bunch of money to someone in China. Well,
but then that guy does the grindy minigame for thousands of hours.
And the ultimate parody of this, right? Someone has made a game called MySQL Game. And really, the MySQL game is not a MySQL game. I tried to do some injections to sort of mess with the game. What it is it's basically an upgrading game that has the interface of SQL. So, like, they'll have all these queries. Like, instead of having a button that says, upgrade weapon, they'll have a button that says, update weapon, set attack equal attack +1, and set user fuel, points -1.
So it's basically...
And then you can type in the number to change the degree of the thing.
So it's basically the same joke as Progress Quest, only with a little, a different kind of ironic lilt to it.
Well, you do something in this game. I mean, it's basically a spend resources game to upgrade stuff game where the interface looks like SQL.
What resource could I possibly be spending? I'm typing update.
Well, because in your user table, they have, you have a row. You start with one row. That's your user row. And one thing starts out as like a high number. And all the other queries force that number to go down when you use them.
But couldn't I just put in a query to make that number go back up?
No, you can't type in whatever you want. When you see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But it's interesting for the message, not for the game.
What message? It's the same message as Progress Quest.
It's a slightly different message than Progress Quest.
I think it's the same message. Progress Quest says that you don't even need to be doing this.
Right. Well, this says it's just a database. So you combine the two, Progress Quest and MySQL game, and you get the reality.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, we don't really like the Memoricas that much, but it's all tough love because I played the Realm for like 3 freaking years.
I played Mad Muds back in the day.
But anyway,
Muds.
that was all just fluff to get out of the way, partly because I don't want to edit my post-production script. It's time to talk about PAX. Now,
Did you do your thing of the day?
oh yeah, I guess I do have a thing of the day. Well, my thing of the day is a spoiler for PAX. So if you did not read PAX coverage and you just live under a rock and you don't know what happened at the end of the Omegathon, well, wait until the end of the show before you watch my thing of the day, because I had to show you this video. Explaining it does not do it justice. You have to see the way the crowd reacted to the final round of the Omegathon.
Yeah. I have video of this, but it's 1.6 gigs. It's actually a really good video. I'm like, my arm was getting tired while taking the video, so I thought it was bad, but actually I watched it and it came out really well.
Yeah, I
just had to find a way to upload it somehow.
Mine's a little bit of a shaky cam here, but that's what you
Mine
get when
has
you're...
a tiny bit of shaky cam, but not a lot less than I thought it was going to have.
Yeah, the one I got's pretty bad. I just went on YouTube and tried to find like the best one.
Yeah, I'll try to get mine uploaded.
It was tricky because you had, I mean, you had to get the build up to it. You couldn't just show it. The build up was everything.
I got the whole thing from no one's on stage to go home. So
that includes sit your ass on that beanbag.
Sit your ass in the bean. Yes.
Right.
Well,
so,
I think the exact quote was "Get your ass in the bean bags."
Anyway, so, before we can talk about PAX 2008, we have to talk a little bit about the backstory, about Little Mac working his way up to this, because when PAX first happened, and, we're not going to talk about Penny Arcade or the history of PAX or Necrowambacon or anything, but when the first PAX was announced, I remember thinking, wow, that'd be pretty cool if it wasn't on the other side of the planet, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm pouring in college. I'd probably go.
When PAX was announced, I just knew that is the convention that I must go to, and that is where the awesomeness is happening. But at the time, I had not the means to go, not the vacation days, nor the funding.
See, you realize the truth is that you didn't really want it.
I didn't want it. It's the same reason I haven't picked up a pigeon.
Yeah, but we're sitting there, all right. But then we start hearing these spotty reports from people who were out there. And
it wasn't spotty reports.
No,
it was direct from the horse's mouth.
When I say spotty, I mean like 10 minutes into it, there were reports coming back that it was awesome.
Basically, everything, all the news that came out of PAX and all the descriptions of what had occurred at the first, second, third, and fourth PAXs, none of which we attended, convinced me absolutely 100% that this is the convention to end all.
I mean, the concerts alone would have been worth flying out there.
Yeah, especially they talk about the spiritual experience of what had occurred at the PAX, and I knew I was missing out on something, and I had a lifelong regret ahead of me, but there was nothing I could do about it.
So we said next year we should go, and then the next year came, and we had neither money nor time, so we didn't go. And then the next year came, and we had neither money nor time. Then the next year came, and we probably could have gone, but we justified not going, saying that, it's too expensive. We'll just go to Otakon and Katsucon and all these things instead. And then the next year, we still didn't fucking go because we're just morons at this point.
So this year, we said, we're going no matter what.
It was about 1 year ago today, after the previous PAX went on the show, we committed. In fact, I wasn't really ready to commit, and we kind of forced ourselves live on Geeknights.
I committed and forced you into it, saying we're going to PAX no matter what, come the hells and the high waters, and high waters actually came to some other people.
Oh, too soon?
Too soon.
So we committed on the air, and then we put that episode up with no retraction that we were going to go to PAX and nothing was going to stop us.
And so, to not shit talk, we did. We went to the PAX.
And I don't want to spoil what we're going to say for the next hour or two or however long this is going to take, but PAX was like the best goddamn convention I've ever been to.
Show's over.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
You shouldn't need... I'll say this. If you like games, and I noticed I didn't say video games. If you like games, you need to go to PAX.
It doesn't matter if you're like a Candyland fanatic or if you're like a StarCraft fanatic. It's all good at PAX.
You don't need to like Penny Arcade. You don't even know what Penny Arcade is. Just go. It's PAX. It's it.
Knowing what Penny Arcade is helps a little bit, but it's not necessary.
So, thus, the Odyssey of PAX. Now, of course, we've never been to the West Coast. We've never been to Seattle.
I've never been west of Michigan.
Until not that long before PAX, I had never been west of Chicago.
You know, if you judged conventions only by the life of Scott, then you could come up with an equation that says as longitude of convention goes west, convention quality increases.
Yes. However, that does not go the same for road trips because the worst road trip we ever went on took us west.
That's true.
But anyway, so the cool thing, and I got to say this, you know, we do Geek Nights. We've been doing this for a long time. And because, you know, most cons, like we go to these anime cons and it's like, hey, con, we'll do a bunch of panels for you. We'll do events for you. And then con says, okay, come. And then we book and we go. PAX was, we are going no matter what. And then much later, I said, hey, maybe we should do a panel.
Well, it wasn't, hey, we should do a panel. It's, hey, they're allowing panel. They're you know, putting out a request for panel applications. You know, so we sent one in, of course, as we do.
Yep,
and then they gave us one.
And we had one. But the really cool thing is that, you know, we do Geek Nights. So as a result, there were a lot of people on the West Coast we kind of knew because they're in our forums. They listen to our show. And unlike going to other conventions where you're coming in out of the blue, you got to meet people from nowhere and kind of forge your posse out of nothing. We got there and we were greeted at the airport by Ro, one of our awesome listeners, and her boyfriend, who I just want to point out was holding up a Geek Night sign with like us doing the caramel dancing on it at the airport. It was like a cross between Sir's car is waiting and oh my god, geeks.
Yeah, the only thing about that sign is I don't think I had any pants in that depiction.
You most definitely did not have any pants on that poster.
Yeah, that's not so good.
That was fantastic.
Oh, Rim likes you with no pants. Okay.
So yeah, you know, little details you don't care about. We stayed at the Red Lion because Red Lion sounded like some sort of communist awesome, and I couldn't pass that up.
Is that really why you picked it?
That's pretty much the only all right. Basically, you know, I don't know the West Coast. I go to the PAX website. They're like, these are the hotels. I'm like, Google Maps, where are they? And the Red Line, Red Line, that was 1 point. 2, free internet. So, all right, Red Line, whatever. I didn't even know where it was. I didn't know anything, but it worked out.
I would have picked one with a brand name just to know that it was quality. Who knows? Red Line could have been anything.
I went on a hunch and I was right. The Red Line was awesome.
All right, yeah.
But you know, we just went to bed. We got in at like 1 a.m.
And the next day, it was time for PAX. We woke up, PAX time.
Now,
we had reverse jet lag, so we were ready to go. But
yeah.
PAX didn't start until 2 p.m. on Friday.
2 p.m. Otakon starts at like 9 on Friday. I didn't know what to do.
I mean, every convention on the East Coast, every anime convention at least, that has a Friday, the Friday is a full day, the Saturday is a full day, and the Sunday just starts early but just ends a little early so everyone can go home. Friday starting at 2 p.m. What the fuck? I mean, that's too early for people to be home from work yet, but it's still way late. You wasted the whole morning. I don't get it.
So, of course, wake up, and I did something I've never done at an AnimeCon before. I went and got a real breakfast.
Yeah, we had all this time we had to kill before, too. So we were wandering around, eating, looking at stuff, talking to people.
Walking around and looking around. And
figuring our way around things.
Discovering that Seattle is a strange and foreign place where no one jaywalks but us.
It's basically a big shopping mall almost.
But the one thing I can say is that walking around Seattle at like 10 a.m. Now, PAX, you know, the attendees of PAX are not like the attendees of other cons we go to. And yet at the same time, you could point out with like a 95% accuracy
99
whether or not a person, well, some of the people we saw were just hipsters.
That's true.
Who happened to live in Seattle. One of them was a hobo who happened to be hipster-ish. But pretty much everyone else, it was like, that's a PAX dude, that's a PAX girl. Those people are all totally PAX people.
Yeah, this is even like later on after PAX is over, you could still tell from the remaining people in town who is someone left over from PAX and who wasn't.
Yeah, but we're wandering around Seattle. We got like a half mile from the convention center in like the wrong direction, you know, bombed the wrong place. And yet there were PAX people everywhere. The city was diffuse with PAX.
Yeah, the PAX people pretty much owned the town for 3 days.
So, you know, we're walking around and we're thinking, all right, are people going to line up? Like, what's the registration status? I mean, I know they mail out badges to people who pre-register, but...
Something that other conventions seem to worry a lot about.
So how many people? I mean, like, how many people could have possibly pre-registered? What's the deal? What's the line going to be like? Let's go to the convention center early.
So we go to the convention center pretty early, mostly because we want to check out our VIP badge situation.
Yes, because actually it was cool that PAX treated us as professionally as professional for-profit money cons treat us. They were like, to get your badges, go to the VIP booth on the 4th floor.
Yeah, we walked in and we met this. We bumped into a bunch of enforcers right away, and they were awesome. And they helped us. They hooked us up right away.
In stark contrast to most other conventions, we walk in and we see an enforcer, and they're blocked. And basically, there's a bunch of enforcers standing at the escalator, not letting anyone who doesn't have a badge go up there. And we're like, hey, VIP badges. And the guy doesn't say, you got to ask so-and-so and point like most cons do. The guy says, I'll walk you over there.
Yep. And there are 2 other enforcers that were still there, so nothing was getting understaffed. It was all good.
And the line was like one dude. There was one dude in front of us in this line. And I noticed that next to us is the normal reg line. And there were maybe 10 people in that line.
That line empty. It was basically the normal reg line was empty. Totally empty because everyone got their badges mailed to them in advance.
There was no one there. And yet, the people who were there, it was like, walk up badge, walk up badge, walk up badge.
Yeah, I mean, there was a will call, and the will call had a little bit of a line, but it was basically one booth, the will call booth. And the line was no bigger than the line you'll see at, like, the movie theater.
Yeah, now I don't want to talk a lot about us and our BS, but we had our guest panelists, like special whatever badges. But what we didn't bother with, like at Otakon, we had the panelist thing, and we also had the press thing and all those things. I learned something really cool. PAX had like 500 media badges they gave out. Press. Media badges got you nothing. In fact, our special badge got us nothing either. So the Kotaku, like all the press people for the most part, did not get anything over a dude with a 3-day badge.
I think I read somewhere on Kotaku that like only one of them actually got like a yellow badge and everyone else got normal badges of normal people.
The way PAX does it is pretty much the press get comp badges, but that's all they get, and they have to.
I didn't even know if they got comped badges. They might have. I don't know.
Well, some of the press I talked to said that they got comp badges.
All right.
Because the comp badges didn't get you anything.
Yeah. But
and I gotta backtrack a little bit. When we're walking toward the convention center, which is like this giant glass edifice. And also, walking toward the convention center, there was like this row of PAX banners in the street leading up to it.
Yeah, you know how streets will hang like, these banners and all this on all the lights on the street to
like,
sort of...
oh my God, film festival, or please pretend our city's awesome.
Right. They had a bunch of them. They said PAX, and they were all over the place. And
it really made me feel like I was part of something.
What other convention have I ever been to that was big enough to have those? Otakon doesn't even have those in the Baltimore streets.
Otakon had like a sign outside once, and that was it.
Yeah.
But, so all right. And then we're walking toward the convention center thinking, all right, let's see what kind of line there is. And I see this like kind of big line of people outside the convention center. And I'm like, oh, I guess there is a reg line. No. That was the line for the stupid crepes. There was this crepe place outside the convention center.
Crepes? All right. Now, there's a crepe place in Atlantic City, one of them, right? And it's all right. There are like 4 different crepe places I saw in Seattle. Crepes are mad popular there. And the place outside of the convention center, directly attached to it, was Crepe Voila. And they had a line the entire convention. People could have just walked down to the other crepe place in the food court of the mall, gotten a crepe and been back faster than waiting in that line.
But not only is that like the line never ended. Like every time I enter or leave the convention center, I see this giant line there. But right next to them were these punk kids with a bunch of Game Boys networked together with cables and a bunch of speakers and amps playing music and dancing.
Yeah, street performance of chiptunes, pretty good.
It was pretty badass, and the music was pretty good, I gotta say. I felt that Bionic Commando kind of vibe going.
Yeah, they definitely had some nice effects.
Yeah, but all right, so, enforcers, badges, we got our little con bag, and of course, what do? We try to wander around as kind of like in a Zelda game, where as soon as you get an item, you wander around as far as that item will take you, getting as far as you can in every direction before you start solving all the puzzles to get the next item.
Right, so it was nowhere near 2 o'clock. So basically, Nothing in the con was open. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go in the annex where the tabletop action was. We couldn't go in the expo room. We could, I think, wait in line to get into the con, which I didn't really want to do at all. So
we went up the escalators as far as we could go to this like top floor where apparently there was some. PAX didn't even have the whole convention center. The top floor had this Gender Odyssey conference.
Yeah, that was sort of freaky.
Yeah, well, freaky because PAX really needed that space. I mean, there were like 58,000 people there. That's like 2 Otakons.
Yeah, some of the panel rooms at PAX are effectively in the hallways.
Yeah, so, we go all the way up there and we bust out the bag. Now, the con bag, the con swag, had a lot of stuff in it, which made me remember or realize that the anime industry, at least, is not doing so well because you don't get so much in those bags anymore.
Yeah, at Otakon, like 02, 03, maybe 04, that con bag was full of stuff, loaded. Now it's like an empty, barren wasteland. The PAX bag was loaded with shit. I have all the shit right here.
It was like overflowing with shit.
Most of it is just like, freaking flyers, advertising stuff, but there were a few good things in there. First of all, you got a Precipice of Darkness demo disc. I already bought that game, so I didn't need a demo disc, but other people do.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about all the ads in it, but I got to say, the little kind of thing talking about Fallout 3, I really like the graphic design of this thing.
That's the only ad worth mentioning was the Fallout 3 card, because it's like, hey, Saturday at 2:30 in the main theater, come see the demo. And on the other side, it says, come to booth seat 632. And Fallout 3 was all over this convention.
Yeah, it was.
More on that later.
Yes, quite a bit more.
So also in the bag, World of Warcraft Trial Edition. We don't have enough of those.
All right, well, I think we have 4.
Yeah. 1UP Network, temporary tattoos.
Yeah, there were a lot of temporary tattoos too, but more on that later.
Yep. There was a PAX 10 Audience Choice Award ballot. Now, the PAX 10, which is basically they pick 10 independent games, and there's an area in the expo room where you can play them all, and then you vote on which one you like by punching a hole, and then you put it in the ballot box at that booth in the expo room, exhibition room or whatever, and you vote on which one you like the most. And I think the winners will be announced at the PAX site after the show. So speaking of the participatory stuff, which is a word Rim cannot pronounce, they had this DTS thing. You might have heard about this before. Basically, the way this works is
distributed tournament system.
Right. The way this works is in your bag, you get this. There's a little Ziploc baggie, a tiny one, the kind that you might store, pieces of a board game in. And there's a slip of paper and 2 buttons, pins, if you will, tiny circular ones that have a PAX logo on them. And you put these pins on you. And when you put the pins on, that means I am accepting challenges. If you see someone else with pins and you're also wearing pins, you get 2 of these to start with, you can challenge them.
Now, it pretty much says challenge anyone to any game for 1 badge.
Right. So you challenge someone to something. So I say, Rim, me and Rim had a challenge. The challenge was who will first see the Red Dragon t-shirt. If you see it, you win.
If you don't know what we're talking about, it's iconic of D&D nerds. It is that Red Dragon t-shirt. I did not see a single person with it, and good God, did I look.
I looked really hard because I wanted to win. I saved one of these pins the whole time just to try to win.
Now, the idea is that, someone at the end of the con is going to have a bag full of these things.
Right. I mean, a lot of people are going to ignore it. A lot of people are going to play. Some people are just going to pull together with all their friends.
I saw a dude wearing, like, a vest, and he had, like, 60 of those things just pinned to it.
Yeah, you just go around challenging people. Now, the people can refuse your challenge. So if Rim says, Scott, let's play Carcassonne for 1 pin, I can say no. But then I'm also losing because I'm also missing out on the chance to win Rim's badge. If someone challenges you and you accept, you might get one from them instead of giving one to them.
Now, one, we realized 2 things. I wanted to walk around just like challenging people to like parkour or arm wrestling or punch for punch.
Yeah.
And 2, we totally could have been griefers and go around and find the people who are really trying to win it and challenge them to a game that they don't realize will take forever.
Yeah, I mean, games that take a long time are really going to hurt you if you're trying to win this. Because basically the idea is to get lots of them, and there's like 100,000 of these buttons to get. So if the con really did have 50,000 attendees like they say they do.
But I just think this was a really cool, I've seen similar things like it at other gaming cons before, but PAX was really, you could see the spirit of this with people throwing down challenges left and right.
Yep. Generally, what happened was anytime people played a game somewhere and they thought of it, they did it. You know, like people would play a board game and they say, hey, you know what? Whoever wins gets everyone else's pin. Or,
But I did see a few people walking around like challenging people openly and like just violently.
yeah, well, I mean, the top 25 players won prizes. Let's talk about the prizes at PAX.
Yes, they had, much like most gaming cons, a prize room with some enforcers sitting there, and they had just, all the prizes you can win.
Yep, and this room was like behind a little window in like a coat check area, and good God, did they have some sweet prizes back there. Sweet prizes.
Yes, I was not willing to try to win any of them, partly because I did not have room in my luggage.
No. The way to win the prizes was to do some sort of, win tournaments or DTS or any. There was ways to win prize all around, but I didn't win any of them. But if I wasn't actually doing stuff at the con, and I wasn't interested in a lot of the events, maybe I would have sat around and tried to win tournaments. I mean, I know I would have done the Puerto Rico tournament if it wasn't during our panel.
Oh my God, the Puerto Rico tournament.
Yeah. All right, two other things were in the bag of note. There was this VB magazine. It's not, and really, I didn't look at it yet. It's not a really interesting magazine.
I flipped through it. It had some articles.
Yeah, what was interesting about it, it was basically they made a magazine for the San Diego Comic-Con and PAX 2008 bags. So this magazine was only available at those two places.
Brilliant!
I thought that was pretty interesting. And, of course, the con book.
Now, the con book, I was taken aback. I'm used to normal gaming cons, which basically have a schedule full of an infinite number of small events, or an anime con, which is, a million panels back to back all over the place. It's pretty much, a relatively small number of relatively high powered panels with like half-hour setup gaps between them.
Yeah. So here's what's in the con book for PAX. Welcome to PAX. Rules of PAX.
The rules of PAX are pretty good. You should read them.
Yeah, oh, you want me to read them right now?
I think we should.
Okay, the 7 rules of PAX, except for the long speak, which I'm not going to read.
Yes,
Ready?
because I don't want to get into it, but basically, the rules of PAX and the way they were followed and the way the con played out says a lot about the kind of convention it was, and I'm going to talk about that more in another show later.
7 rules of PAX. Ready? Drugs are bad. Don't steal. Don't punch or kick people. No cheating. Don't harass anyone. Don't spray paint on stuff. Don't mess with things that aren't yours.
Now, I don't think I saw anyone cause a problem in the entirety of this convention.
That was amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, DTS, there were the explanation of the pins I just gave you. Beginner's Guide to PAX, Friday schedule, Saturday schedule, Sunday schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday panel descriptions, Omegathon description, FAQ, Wizards of the Coast schedule.
Wizards of the Coast.
And the PAX 10. And that is the whole book. The other half of it is ads, and there's a note page on the back. That's it. Oh, that's right. There's a map in the middle. There's a map of the exhibition room, and there's a tear-out map of the convention center.
But, that aside, what can I say about the con book? It was everything it needed to be. I had no complaints about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but, we still got nothing to do. There's hours before the con starts. So, we notice a Cisco router, basically a Linksys router powered by Cisco.
I took a picture of it. You see it in my Flickr.
It is iconic of something. It was sad, and yet at the same time, it reeked of that kind of duct tape ingenuity common to all geeks.
Yeah, I mean, Cisco had, Cisco at least sponsored a wireless network that they supposedly set up.
There's no way they set it up, because while they must have, they probably paid for it and provided the equipment, but in terms of wireless signal strength in area, they did not set it up well. That's one of my few complaints about the con. The wireless was mostly poop, and it was actually really strong signal, but the signals overlapped and interfered with each other. But
yeah, this is
I don't want to get into.
I'm pretty sure this is a case of Cisco providing equipment and sponsorship, and then non-professionals setting it up.
I would not believe that Cisco set up that thing that Scott took a picture of.
Not at all. It definitely looks like an enforcer job. Not to insult the enforcers.
Yes, because that was totally awesome.
It's not an insult to the enforcers to say that they're not technology professionals.
Well, let me say this. UberCon had almost the exact same wireless setup. The only reason UberCons worked is that there was only one of them. But anyway, aside from that, we still had nothing to do. So we wandered over to the handheld gaming lounges, aka the DS lounges.
There was not much to do, but, and technically the DS lounges, which there are 3 of, didn't open until the con started, but the convention center was actually a big open area. It's not like Otakon where you're locked out of the building. This convention center had like restaurants in it and businesses, and it's a place that you can go.
Point of note, Ro told us, and other people also independently told us, that the pizza place in the convention center is terrible and not to eat there.
We saw a lot of people eating there, but not us.
None of them looked happy.
We ate plenty of other places but there.
Oh my God, that burrito place that was like super cheap and pretty good.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
I got a good smoothie there. A smoothie I could actually finish, which is rare.
Yeah. But you know what? We decided, what are we going to do? We go up there, and the way they did these DS lounges, and I say DS because it was 90% DS.
I mean, the funniest part was you look at the schedule. They had
Oh my God.
They nominally had schedules for the DS lounges. I mean, really, they weren't super scheduled. I mean, they didn't go around enforcing it, but it's basically like, hey, we'll put the schedule up, and then maybe if someone really wants to play Mario Kart, they'll show up at the Mario Kart time, and their chances of getting a Mario Kart game going on will be better than otherwise.
It was basically like 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Mario Kart DS, Bomberman DS, blah, 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 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Picross DS, like all the different DS games. And then it'd be like 1 to 1:30 PSP time.
that I don't know if that tells you about the PSP. I think it tells you that the multiplayer, the local wireless multiplayer for the PSP is weak.
The thing is, though, not to discredit, because the PSP despite all expectations, the PSP gets a lot of credit for being a valid and successful second place. And there are good games on it, and it's a great single-player console, and it does have some pretty good multiplayer games. Just, it doesn't have the pickup game appeal of the DS. I mean, I saw people playing Bomberman every time I walked by that lounge for the entire con.
Yep.
But the important thing is these sumo bags. You might have seen them.
So we're not a big fan of bean bags here. I mean, they're not that comfortable, and they make you look like, a poor college student
Or
if you have
a 70s dude. Bean bags are one of those things like communism that is awesome in theory, not so great in implementation.
And they're usually real mushy, and you just sort of sink into them, and you might as well be sitting on the floor.
But then they're kind of plastic, so you get all sweaty, or they're canvas, then they get stained, and bean bags are never the sign of a classy joint.
That's why we got banana chairs.
Yes.
They're much classier. I mean, they're not perfect, but they're much better than bean bags. So Sumo sponsored, I guess, PAX by providing many of their, bean bags.
Now, when you
basically.
say many, I don't think you understand how many of them there were. They were everywhere. There were like 100 of them in the DS lounges. Oh, by the way, I say lounges because there were like 3 DS
there
lounges.
There was A, B, and C.
On 3 different floors connected by an escalator.
Well, 2 of them were over on that. B and C were over there. A was closer to was on the floor with the console free plays and the Rock Band lounge.
I didn't really spend a lot of time over by A, so.
No, it was mostly above A.
Because people in A sucked, but anyway.
That's right.
So these sumos are basically a beanbag plus technology and style.
What it is, it's a beanbag, right? And it's filled with these foam balls. And the whole con, only one of the bags opened up and spilled balls everywhere. And it didn't spill too many of them. And it's really packed pretty tightly, not like a beanbag with lots of air. It's packed pretty tight. And it's got this really, really good sort of plastic canvasy material that it's made of. It's not made of like, what a beanbag's made of, which is basically the cheapest possible stuff sewn together. It is serious business.
The analogy I would use is like my Aeron chair, where it's a substance, or the way it works is it's comfortable, and yet it doesn't seem to stain, and it doesn't, like, it lets my sweat through, and it was like a good substance. And again, I don't think you understand how many of them there were. I saw at one point an enforcer who had made a pyramid almost as tall as I was and was like asleep on top of it.
Yeah, they're really, if you think one of these is comfortable, because one alone by itself is real comfortable.
I want to have a house
if you
with a
get
room
it in the
full
right
of these
configuration,
things.
Right? But getting multiple of them on top of each other, I didn't want to move.
You could turn these things into like couches, but basically when you went into these DS lounges, you would see a whole ton of people like cuddling or just laying next to each other in all these crazy configurations, like all over the place. It was It was quite a sight to behold. I suggest,
Even without the gaming, it was really great.
yeah, and a lot of people were just chilling there, kind of playing single-player DS games. They were doing the kind of the thing kids do where you put like two 4-year-olds together. They don't play with each other, but they play separate things next to each other.
Yep.
There's a lot of that going on. I spent a good amount of time kind of chilling there, like recouping between things. On Saturday, I fell asleep there for like 20 minutes by accident, but...
Yeah, generally, we were treated there quite a few times, and so did everyone else at the con. These things were pretty much always full, except for the rare occasion when there would only be, when things are really busy elsewhere at the con, there might only be a...
And they had power strips everywhere. And two, you could borrow rechargers for PSPs and DSs.
Yeah, so for once, it wasn't taboo to lose your battery, or run out of battery. They could charge you up.
And a lot of people were using them. The enforcers running it were like, oh my God, the enforcers running these things were like so on top of their game.
Yep. So the one thing I learned is after the con, I went to the Sumo website to see what the deal with these things was.
Because remember, pretty much I was thinking after laying on these, oh my God, when we buy a house, we're going to get like 10 of these and stick them in a closet. And every time the Visigoths come out, we're filling the basement with them.
They're the cheapest one, which the ones they had at PAX were the cheapest model. They have other models that are bigger and different, but the cheap model is the one I want, really. The other ones are not really what you want.
They tried to do too much with it.
$150 each. There were thousands of dollars worth of Sumos all over. If I would have known they were so expensive, I would have stolen them.
$150. A beanbag is like $40.
I guess that's why the price is related to the quality.
Yeah, as much as I want one, I don't think I'm gonna buy one.
I might, because they're
see, the thing is,
the banana chairs aren't really doing it for me anymore in the living room.
The problem is, like, having one would be nice, but the dream would be to have a whole bunch of them for when people come over.
Yeah, having a whole bunch would definitely be way more awesome than having just like a couple.
But then again, I was looking for furniture, and a nice couch is like $1,200.
That's true.
Divide that by Sumos, and it's not that bad for a geek. Of course,
Of course, you'd want a couch and the Sumos.
Yes.
So it's rough.
Couch upstairs, Sumos in the basement.
I guess that could work.
It's kind of like a mullet, house upstairs, stigmata of geekery in the basement.
All right.
All right. Before I got to talk about this because again, the con has not started yet.
Right. So the con has this main events room, which is the biggest room. It's where the concerts are and all the major events are. And next to it is the lineup room. The lineup room has entrances both into the main events room and also to the exhibition hall. It's in between both. So they use it for lineup to every main event. They also use it for lineup to the expo room in the mornings when it opens up.
So, all right, we're not going to, wait in line for anything. And there's a lot of people in that room. And the line culture at PAX was great. People were like bopping beach balls and balloons around and playing DS games and yelling and screaming.
Yep. In addition to that, there was the cookie brigade at every line, which I'm sure you've heard about by now. But basically, people baked cookies. They brought them to PAX. They sold them to people in line mostly, but also out of line.
They sold like $5,000 worth of cookies.
It was
$1
$1 for a cookie. They sold $5,000 worth of cookies. That means they baked together at least 5,000 cookies.
I bought 4 of those cookies.
I bought 1.
I bought 4 at once. I ate them all in less time than it took to buy them.
And then all the money went to the child's play.
I can't complain about that.
No. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So since there was a big line to get into the expo room right away, the exhibition hall right away, and the big events, the keynote speech and the Q&A with Gabe and Tycho, right, wasn't for a little while, we started off our con going into the annex, which we couldn't get into until 2. So 2 o'clock, we went to the annex. And the annex basically had... the bottom floor of the annex was the Wizards of the Coast floor.
Wizards of the Coast.
The second floor of the annex.
Wait. On the bottom floor. Basically, they had the WotC area. You could do WotC crap. They had a spot where they were tricking people. They were trying to get people to sign up to be game testers for them. And then they had a giant beholder and a bunch of standees with faces cut out of them so you could put your face behind it like at a carnival.
Yeah, there's pictures of Rim.
Yeah, well, there's pictures of me and Ananth.
Yeah, and me too. Yeah. Check out my Flickr. You can see all.
Yeah, go to Scott's Flickr. There's stuff there.
All right. I didn't take that many pictures, but I took pictures of that.
We peeked into the Wizards of the Coast area, and it was just Wizards of the Coast.
Yep.
They were all Gardaconin.
There's a tabletop floor, which had, so many tables and such a great configuration. And then they had, a place you could check out board games. they had a great selection, but the selection was not as good as, say, the Kineticon selection.
Yeah, now there was a third floor that, for whatever reason, at this point, we didn't actually go up there.
Yeah, the third floor had the Serpent Theater, the fourth panel room. It also had the Mystery Space and another space with a lot more tables for more gaming in case the second floor filled up.
But we didn't even look. Like, we didn't know it was up there. We didn't go up there. We just kind of got distracted by stuff. So we hung out in the tabletop area.
And how did we kick off the PAX, the greatest game? We didn't even get off to the start. The convention is starting now, people. How did we kick off this amazing con?
By playing pretty much one of the best board games ever made.
Tigris and Euphrates.
Not only that, but we played it with Ro, awesome forumite who met us, and Aaron, other awesome forumite, who not only met us at the con and was totally cool and came from Canada, but brought us chocolate from Canada.
Well, I think she worked at the chocolate factory.
Thus, a confluence of events that provided chocolate in my stomach.
And Tigris and Euphrates in my hands.
And it was a pretty damn good game of Tigris and Euphrates. I won by like 1,000,000 points.
Yeah, anyway, at that game of T&E, we realized there was a Puerto Rico tournament that conflicted with our panel. Couldn't
yes,
go.
A Puerto Rico tournament. Oh my God, could we have won? Well, could I have won that?
There was a Carcassonne tournament that conflicted with the keynote and Q&A panel we wanted to go to.
I should be fair, because Scott and I probably had completely equal chances of winning the Puerto Rico tournament, and we probably would have spoiled to try to make one of us or the other win. I think I could have won that Carcassonne tournament handily, and I think if I had not been in it, Scott could have handily won that Carcassonne tournament.
But we didn't do those things, so they conflicted with other things. I would have liked to, though. Instead, after our game of T&E, we went to the keynote, and then immediately following the keynote was the Gabe and Tycho, or Jerry and Mike Q&A panel number 1.
So, not many.
As in, they had a second Q&A panel on Saturday, which we didn't go to.
Now, at this point, we'd resigned ourselves to doing the main events. I mean, the big things at this con were the keynote, which is basically the opening ceremonies, and then the Q&A. And our plan was, all right, let's see the keynote. Because Ken Levine, if you don't know, he's the guy, he was the guy behind like System Shock 2 and BioShock.
Yeah, pretty important gaming guy.
Yeah, and he has a pretty cool story. And also, how many cons out there have keynotes, let alone industry awesome keynotes?
I definitely think, other conventions, even if they have keynotes, that's usually a more businessy convention that has a keynote, and a lot of other cons, they have like boring opening ceremonies. I think just everyone should do a keynote for their opening ceremonies with an important related in person. And I just think that's the way to go, because it gets people to come, it gets people to care, it gets people excited, it gets people inspired and ready in the right frame of mind for the rest of the event. Just doing the lame opening ceremonies like every other convention does is kind of bleh.
And I gotta say, Mr. Levine did a really damn good keynote. Basically, it was in the sort of TED Talk style. Like, all those TED Talks are pretty much the small number of very, relevant, very insightful, super good slides, but they're kind of the backdrop to the awesome narrative that weaves them all together. The kind of talk, slide, and the crowd goes, oh, or hee, whenever a slide comes out. He gave this really good life story about, being a nerd, being like this super nerdy Jewish kid when no one else around him was nerdy as a kid, and being awkward and getting into gaming and getting into D&D and getting into comic books. And he talked a lot about Logan's Run, and actually the whole bit he did about Logan's Run was really, really good.
Yeah, the only thing is you could tell this guy is a writer, right? I mean, he was talking about he was a Hollywood screenwriter and stuff, and his presentation was super well written, but his public speaking skills were not the most amazing, but his writing carried him through, and he did have a lot of good things to say.
I don't know if I'd just say that. I mean, if we're talking, public speaking skills, he pulled it off 90%. He did a really good talk. It was just, I think what it was, I think he was a little nervous.
It could be.
Especially, his whole life story. And
the thing is, he was obviously reading it all off a piece of paper.
Well, yeah, that's what most people do. But a lot of it was from the heart.
That.
He had a lot of asides, and
yeah,
it was a really good talk. And I wouldn't really say that it was poorly presented. I think it was excellently presented. I think he was just a little bit nervous because the crowd that was watching him was frighteningly large.
It's pretty much because it's the biggest room at the con, and it was filled to capacity. So
I'll say this, if nothing else, if you ever go to a PAX, which you should be going to a PAX, oh my God, go to the keynote, Oh my God, go
How
to the
could you
keynote.
not go to the keynote every single time? Why
The
would
funny
you?
thing is, he brought up Logan's Run, and then he brought up the old comic book Logan's Run.
Which I didn't know existed.
And he talked a lot about like how the internet changed everything.
Hey, remember at the New York Comic Con, you can go bin diving for the Logan's Run comic.
Oh my God, I kind of want to own it and then get him to sign it. But anyway, Logan's Run kind of became a running theme because it came up a couple more times this weekend.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. But, that ended and we were like, all right, let's stick around for whatever this Q&A is. We'll probably walk out early because, I expected this Q&A with the Penny Arcade persons to be like any other convention Q&A. Totally lame.
All right, so first of all, you got to realize, right? They didn't have another lineup for this. It was that lineup for the keynote in the line room was for the keynote, directly followed by the Q&A, directly followed by the Rooster Teeth panel, which are the red versus blue guys. A lot of people didn't stay for that, including us. We didn't need to see them.
Yeah, like half the crowd walked out.
Not that they're
them.
no good. It's just I really wasn't interested in seeing their panel, so I walked out.
Well, what someone said that I felt bad, but at the same time, it sounded like it was kind of justified. I overheard the words, "Oh, red versus blue. That's so 2003."
Oh, burn.
Total
Oh,
burn. I felt kind of bad hearing that though, because someday someone's gonna be like, "Geeknights. That's so 2007."
Oh,
But anyway, so the Q&A. Now, this was basically the keynote. The Q&A was not just a Q&A. It was the opening ceremonies. Now, the house lights go down. The stage lights go down. The super professional, light show at the front begins. It was as if a rock star is about to appear. Not just a small-time rock star. I'm talking like a big rock star, like the biggest rock star. The music starts playing.
well, remember, this is the concert stage. So they had this full concert stage set up with everything, and they used that for every main event. If you've got it, might as well use it. Why would you hold it back? You know?
The lights are going crazy. The smoke machine starts. The music is building up to a crescendo. And then two spotlights from crosswise come down on the two sides. And Gabe and Tycho of Penny Arcade walk out.
No, you've got it wrong. You've got it totally wrong.
Oh, do I?
Yes, the curtain opens, revealing an orchestra.
Oh, yes. You see, this was so classy. This was classy and epic times 1,000. A freaking orchestra starts playing.
It wasn't a full orchestra like, rows and rows of people, but it was, the whole, they had a small section. There was some violins, some flutes, and some little horns, and some, timpani actions. It was a conductor, the whole thing.
And to all this, they walk out, Tycho adorned in a cape. And it is one of the few times in my life, outside of a Renaissance festival, I've seen someone wear a cape non-ironically and pull it the fuck off.
And that was a scary cape too. That wasn't like one of those capes a LARPer wears. It was a nerd cape, like a really nerdy cape, red on the inside with circular flappy things.
And
man, was it nerdy!
I need to point out, dude pulled it off. Dude,
It was basically if in the world of capes, if capes were hats, it was a beanie.
I don't know. I think I would call it the toppest of top hat.
No.
Because the way he carried it and the way I don't think anyone could ever pull off wearing that cape but him.
Wow, you definitely need a bald head to wear that cape.
So they come out, and this is when, if anyone didn't realize that these two gentlemen are basically video game rock stars.
Even though they seem to not want to be or not admit they are.
But they are rock stars.
At least at their own convention.
The spectacle and the crowd was amazing. And then they start talking, and it's amazing. And then they get right into the Q&A. They basically had this says something about PAX. Basically, in the two main aisles and quite a bit back, they had two unattended and unguarded microphones.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Oh my God! It would at any other con would that have spelled Baba Booey, Howard Stern's penis disaster?
Right. I mean, someone just gets up there, says a bunch of stupid shit. You need an enforcer to run all the way over to the microphone to stop them.
I mean, if I was running a con, I would have enforcers at the microphone with like a taser.
Exactly.
But no, they basically say, all right, if you have questions, there are microphones. And people line up, and no one really asked a stupid question. It was kind of scary.
I mean, there were some people who were saying things that were a little, but most of it was, people ask. No one asked stupid crap, like, and
no one was like scary. Like some anime cons, you're up there. Some gaming cons, if there's a Q&A like this, and there's the dude who asks like the really scary question. Everyone in the crowd is like really uncomfortable. That didn't happen. One girl was dressed up as a tentacle monster, and she just walked up there and went "Rawr."
Yeah, I think
and then she walked away.
I think she was just really nervous and couldn't say anything. Or she was doing a performance piece, as they suggested.
But the thing is, it wasn't just like question then answer. It was like back and forth between them on stage and whoever was at the microphone. And they alternated back and forth between the microphones.
Yeah, basically, Gabe covered the left side lane and Tycho covered the right side lane. So
and they kind of go back and forth. It was kind of like a gong show where periodically like, and back to the right side.
Yeah, exactly.
The correct side.
People said stuff like, I came on the cross-country super trip, blah, 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 or Sutton Child's Play, blah, or, where are the special edition hardcover books? Why are we only getting the soft covers now? And
now,
a lot of legitimate, stuff that, wasn't, some of it was really funny, but most of it was just kind of,
Yeah, and one guy walked
goodness.
up, and he starts talking, he starts to ask a question, and he asks kind of along the lines of, you guys really didn't expect this, you didn't get this, and everyone's like, what? And then he whips out a little speaker box, and he rickrolls the audience.
That was the first rickroll of the convention.
It was
also the lamest, but it was all right.
It was all right because it was done pretty well.
I mean, usually if someone doesn't do a rickroll just right, you groan. But it was kind of like, all right, man. Yeah.
And I love how Tycho is basically like, did we just get rickrolled? I think he's rickrolling us. You're totally rickrolling us, aren't you? And meanwhile, just and
it was really tinny coming out of a little tape player into a microphone.
I think what gave it the most class was that he knew the proper time to turn the rickroll off and give up his moment in the sun.
Yeah, see, there was perfect timing with the turn off that saved it.
Yes, pretty much everyone up there, like, they knew when, like, the steam of their conversation with the people up front timed out, and they just kind of walked away, and it worked really well. So, of course, we're sitting there, and we're like, now, actually, we came up with this like a while before.
Right, we didn't have anything to ask, really, right? But as you're at the convention, we looked at our badges and they said special guest and presenter or panelist, special guest and panelist badge.
And our badge was light blue. And
it said on it specifically in square brackets, sky blue.
Now, I noticed it said sky blue. Why would it say sky blue? And then, we noticed that the normal attendee badge was red.
Red being the second lowest color in Paranoia. And if you don't know Paranoia, I'm not going to explain it to you.
And then we see, the media badge is yellow and some other badge is blue. And we see all these different badges.
I just want to point out at this time that the musical guests also had sky blue badges because they were special guests.
Yes, so we had the same badge as MC Frontalot, which was totally, my head like popped when I saw that.
Yeah. Anyway, I noticed when we were sitting in the audience, right, because they have basically, in this main events room, they have cameras, lots of them, because they make the PAX DVD and they record everything, right? And they were, the cameras are aimed at Gabe and Tycho, and you could see them really big on the two giant projection screens.
And Scott looks up and he says, I think they have ultraviolet badges.
The badges said, all access. I saw it for like a second and said Tycho's badge said all access, and it was purple. Clearly purple, right?
Now, at this point, there's no way it's a coincidence. So we're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So Scott's like, I'm going to go up and ask. And I was like, I'm going too. Let's go up there.
So he planned it in advance.
Now, of course,
as we do,
we walk up there and we're in line for a while. And this dude behind us is like,
he's a little bit annoying.
No, he's like, I don't know if my question's good. I don't know if they make fun of me. And I'm like, so what are you going to say? And he's like, well, I kind of quit my job because they wouldn't give me time off to come to the con. And I kind of don't have a hotel room. And I came out here like the last minute. I don't even have money. And it was like,
good luck with that.
Have fun with that. But so we get up there and we basically were like,
I'm like, look, my badge is sky blue. And they're like, yup. I'm like, regular attendee, what color is your badge? Red? Tycho, what's your badge up there? Is that ultraviolet?
Yeah, are you a happy city? And we're kind of going back and forth with him. And finally, and at one point, they're like, this is kind of like a little show.
Oh, yeah, because we get up there. I'm like, I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
We're Geeknights. We're from New York. Da-da-da. And Gabe's like, oh, it's like a little show. Like he thought we were so quaint.
And then, basically, we get our paranoia question out. And he's like, wait a minute, are you making a paranoia? Because we didn't say paranoia. And he's like, wait a minute.
We're just like, does the computer know about this, you communist?
And he's like, are you making a paranoia agent? Oh my God, I love you. He said it just like that.
And then he said,
I want to play paranoia with you.
And then we took the opportunity to pimp our panel.
Yes, and we totally got away with it because we'd built up enough to where our time in front of that microphone was not out yet. Mm-hmm. So we
pimped our panel, Sutton Burning Wheel, and he's like, oh, Burning Wheel's the shit.
I totally want to play with you. I'm coming to your panel. Now, I knew he wasn't going to come to the panel. He had a billion in fact, they held up the spreadsheet that Robert Koo put together and gave them, telling them where to be when. So I was pretty sure that Beyond Dungeons & Dragons was not on his where to be when sheet.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't either.
It was a really complicated sheet, too.
Yeah, that was pretty much a harsh itinerary.
Yes. So we had our little moment, and we sat back down, and all the other questions were awesome, and it was a really awesome panel.
Yeah, totally awesome.
Actually, one thing that was kind of funny was that a lot of people seem to have brought gifts for Gabe and Tycho, like offerings, and
there was the one person who brought like a whole bunch of candy from Canada that was unavailable to them. And then someone else came up and like, my wife is like 9 months pregnant and she saw that candy go by. And Tycho was like, here, we know all about that. Here, take like 3 of them.
Yeah, those two were really funny up on stage. Like their dynamic duo-ness is
they sound just like they do in their podcast. There actually were a large number of requests for them to sort of revive their podcast a bit because it's been lacking. And, it gives me some sort of hope that like this actually is like this demand for podcasts in a way, and that we just sort of, I don't know, got it. Like something can be done as opposed to podcasts are going to be the way they are forever.
It was just funny though that like everyone who had a gift, they'd say, well, bring it up to our altar. And they'd like walk up. And I remember one guy in particular, he walks up with his gift he has. And he's like so nervous that he's shaking. And he like walks over. He's like,
his hand is shaking as he hands him like this envelope.
And he like puts it down. Then he scurries away as like a rat as fast as possible.
Like they're going to bite him, which they are.
They probably would have if he'd gotten any closer.
They like to bite. Anyway. So yeah, one thing about this con is I looked at the schedule, right? And when I look at the schedule, I see stuff like on Saturday, there's the, make a strip panel, which we missed. We'll talk about that later. But as a line, the lineup for it is longer than the panel itself. The concerts have a huge lineup. All the main events are these huge lineups, and all the main events are the stuff I want to do. So I look at the schedule, and I'm thinking, man, between eating and going to these events and waiting in line and finding some time to go to the expo room at some point, the exhibition room, I'm not going to do anything but wait in line and go to these events. It's going to be the whole con. And I was sort of disappointed at that, but I still felt like it was worth it because those events were so awesome. In reality, I did a lot of stuff besides wait in line and go to these events because you didn't really have to wait in line the whole time.
No, I mean, other than on the last day, we didn't really wait in any lines. Like all the concerts, we kind of walked. I mean, there was a line to get in to get good spots, but we just kind of walked in after everyone else was in, no problem. And because
the way they do a thing with wristbands, for the concerts, basically, if you get there really early in the morning, you get a wristband right away. But when the concert starts, you can just go get a wristband, because there's a lot more than the ones they give out right away.
Plus, crowd psychology. A little hint to all you Geeknights listeners. We actually were right up near the front at every one of these events. And the way we did it was you walk into the room. It's super crowded on the side by the entrance. If you walk around the back all the way to the other side, and then all the way around, like almost behind the stage, and then walk like back toward the center, there's a big kind of gap there because just like crowd psychology, everyone kind of crowds around by the entrance. And if you get around those people, you can get real close real quick.
Yep. Anyway, so after the Q&A panel, all right, we go to the annex again.
And now like we're ready. Like, all right, we got nothing to do until the concerts tonight. Let's totally play some games.
Before dinner, because then we're going to eat dinner and go to the concert. So, we go to the checkout of board games room, and we're looking, and we're thinking maybe we'll play Agricola, now to be known as Agricola.
Yeah, and I got to point out, though, they had a lot of good games in there, but they had the Dune game, the game we have, the game that's so awesome. It was special. You had to check it out special, and you couldn't leave the room with it.
Yeah. So we're thinking maybe Agricola because, that's the hot new game in the German games world. But then I see Via Paletti, and Via Paletti is a game. It was a Spiel des Jahres winner a while ago, 02 or 03 or something like that. And it's sort of like a fancy Jenga, right? You build a little tower and you don't want to knock it over and, stuff like that. But I'd never played it. I'd only heard of it and was intrigued. So we got it. I said, you know what? Let's just fucking get it. I'm getting it. Because the thing about playing games at a convention, especially you want to play a game you've never played before. If you played it before, you're wasting your time at a convention, especially if you own the game. You want to play games you don't own, games you couldn't play on any other occasion. The problem is, if you play games you've never played before, now you're losing precious convention time learning how to play the game. If I would have taken Agricola, right, which is, even though I know that's the wrong pronunciation, I don't give a shit. We would have taken like an hour to learn the game, read the rules, and someone actually told us, one of the enforcers manning the room there.
However,
the rules of Agricola were poorly written.
We saw a group of kids later on playing Power Grid for the first time,
and
learning the
harassed
rules.
them.
Well, I harassed them quite a bit.
And they didn't like you, obviously. So I said, Via Paletti is a Jenga-like game. It's probably real easy to learn the rules. Let's get that. So we got it.
You just stack things up on top of each other, and then Scott knocks it over.
We're going to do a whole show on it. All you have to know is that I've ordered the game. It's so good. But we played this game. We got 2 random PAX people to play with us. They were awesome.
Yep, and then we played it a bunch of times, and we got a couple other different people to play, and everyone in the room was kind of like, they kind of start watching like from the side, like sidelong glances from their own games.
Yeah, basically we were playing this game. It became like the centerpiece of the room as the tower got bigger and bigger, and as there were 2 tiny sticks holding up this gigantic tower.
And then eventually crash and yelling and screaming, and everyone starts yelling in the room, and one guy claps, and it was a good time. But I got to talk a little bit about the room too, because this was the best tabletop gaming space I have ever seen. It was basically one large room that was divided in the center by a low cubicle wall. Mm-hmm. And all around it were tables and chairs, like square tables.
Big circular tables with like 6 or 7 chairs at each one.
But also small square tables, like lots of different configurations. And then all around the perimeter were little hallways, and in these little hallways were little rooms with like a table and 6 chairs and a door you could close behind you.
So pretty much like any table configuration that you were looking for was available. And, for gaming, it doesn't get better than that. You can have a private RPG room, a big miniatures table, whatever you want. They had it going on. It was totally freaking sweet.
Yep. And the other cool thing that they had set up that totally got to bring this to Kineticon was if you were looking for a game, they had these signs for you ready that said LFG and on the bottom what kind of game you wanted to play. You just walked around holding it, and eventually people would congregate and play a game.
So if you wanted to play Settlers, you just picked up a copy of Settlers and an LFG sign, and you just sort of walked around with it, and people would say, "What's up, Settlers? Let's rock and roll."
Or you'd see 5 people who would all congregate because they all had LFG board game, and then they all walked in as strangers to the room together, checked out a game as a group. And
so if you wanted to play a game and you saw someone holding up LFG, you would go to them and say, "Hey, let's play." And at the same time, it also helped because sometimes you're at a gaming con, you're playing a game, people will come up to you and say, "Hey, can I play?" And you'll have to be like, you'll feel bad because you'll be like, "No, we've already got 4, we already got 5." So with the LFG signs, no one bothered you if you didn't have the sign because they assumed you weren't LFG.
And also all the people running this room, pretty much they left everyone in the gaming area completely alone, except sometimes enforcers would come and play a game. And the people managing the game checkout were the most awesome together people. They all
And
knew.
they were super knowledgeable about games too.
Yeah, we walk in and I was like, "Oh my God, we should play T&E." One was like, "That's a good game. Have you played Puerto Rico?" And I'm like,
"You don't know me very well."
We took turns naming games. I was like, "Have you played this?" She's like, "Duh." "Have you played this?" I'm like, "Duh." Eventually we named every good game. And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Yep.
And, we hang around there for a while, and then eventually we go to eat. We got to eat at some point at this con. And all I want to say is I walk out, and I see that crepe line, and I totally didn't eat there.
We went to Lounge B a little bit more, and it was It was around this time. Remember, I said there were 3 DS lounges, A, B, and C, right? Oh, handheld lounges, excuse me. We hung out in B, and then we hung out in B again, and we sort of developed this allegiance to Lounge B, and we
This
were
sort of
like
unjustified desire.
it was completely justified. Lounge A and Lounge C were shit, and Lounge B was awesome.
Lounge C tried too hard. Lounge A was shit. Lounge B, especially sitting at the bottom of the escalator.
Lounge of Kings.
I was sitting at the bottom of that escalator in my thing. Like, I felt like a king watching all my subjects filter by, even though actually Gabe and Tycho were the kings, and we were just pretenders to the throne who were totally about to get punked by some army from the east.
Doesn't matter. Anyone who isn't in Lounge B sucks.
Well, technically army from the west. We were the usurper army from the east that failed to gather the support of the masses.
Anyone who isn't Lounge B is awesome. All right. So
What? I think you mean the opposite.
I said anyone who is in Lounge B is awesome.
I thought you said everyone who isn't Lounge B is awesome.
No, I said everyone not in Lounge B is poop.
I can say, though, I saw one guy in Lounge B on Sunday when I was walking by with an original Game Boy playing a game on it.
Sweet.
I was so excited
That's how
about
you know
that.
Lounge B is the best. All right. Anyway, after much to do, it was time for the Friday night concert. So we go to the Friday night concerts, and they're looking for wristbands. Wristbands. And we didn't get the wristbands in the morning. So we're sort of like, I don't know if we can get in. Shit.
We're standing there like idiots waiting for the all right, everyone else come in announcement.
Right.
And then
That announcement never came. We walked away. We came back, and they were still saying wristbands.
So then I see a guy walking by me with a wristband that is not on his wrist.
Yeah, it's sort of...
And I'm about to be like, dude, $5.
Yep.
And the guy looks at me and he like shoulders over toward this desk on the other side of the room, the help desk for the con. And I see them.
This is in the Reg area, by the way.
I see them tossing wristbands to people like water.
Yeah, they just got wristbands out there. So I'm like, oh, all right, let's go get some wristbands. And
So I
then
get my
go into the
wristband.
concert.
I walk over to the concert with Scott. We walk in and the one-ups start playing.
Well, the one-ups had been playing for a little while.
We missed like half of one song. Now, the one-ups are really, they played kind of not smooth jazz, but light jazz, heavily influenced by video game. Like you can recognize the game.
They would take the bass melody of a popular video game song,
or sometimes the harmony and melodify it.
right? And then they would just jazz it up crazily, like just play a jazz song where that was the seed, and the song just grew out of it. And it was pretty awesome. I would totally download their musics.
Yeah, but then, that was really exciting. Then they ended, and of course, we went through this charade of encore, oh my God. Then they came back and did more songs. And then Freeze Pop came out.
If you don't know Freeze Pop,
My boss at work knows Freeze Pop and still listens to them. Freeze Pop is well known among older people.
yeah, they're in the Guitar Heroes. They do that. That's Freeze Pop.
Yes, and others.
They
like
played it
Science,
at the last PAX also.
Science Genius Girl and all that business.
Right. So we see them, and I had heard from the last PAX that they weren't the best live, as well as they were recorded. And I could see why you would say that, but it doesn't fucking matter.
It was an amazing freaking concert, and anyone who said
Everyone was rocking the house out.
anyone who said it was a bad concert was wrong. And this concert was great.
Then dual guitars. 2 guitars. 2 guitars.
This was
How many guitars? More than one.
This is one of the better concerts I've been to in my life.
Yeah, definitely.
Not the best concert, but pretty good. And when I say this concert, I mean Freeze Pop, not the concert as a whole. Because, Freeze Pop
And then
plays,
there was the one part, right, where the dude, because remember, first it was jazz, then it was basically synth pop, right? One song, right, the Freeze Pop dude put down his guitar and picked up a guitar, and it was an electric guitar. And when he played it, I was like, oh yeah, electric guitars are magic. Because you sort of forget listening to the guitar, how amazing the electric guitar is.
And they played a slightly slow song, so people are holding up their DSs and things. And then Freeze Pop is like, no, all of you do that. House lights down. And that was a fucking sight to
Yeah, because
behold.
I mean,
a dude was holding up his 22-inch laptop.
I mean, everyone's been doing the hold-up electronic device thing, ever since smoking became uncool and cell phones became cool, right? This is not something new. It's been around for a long time, the hold up your device for light at a concert, right? Instead of a lighter. But, they took it a step further. They said, turn off all the lights. Only light from electronic devices. I downloaded one of those free flashlight apps for my iPhone then and there in the room.
I was holding up my Razor and my BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I kept hitting the button on the side to make the light stay on.
So it was doubly cool. I don't think that would be cool again. Just more of the same, but
one guy had the best iPhone
it was
app
cool
ever.
to see it pushed to the limit.
It was literally an animated picture of a lit lighter.
Yeah, they have those. You can get that for the iPhone now. It's just it's just like an animation of a flame on your iPhone.
But Freeze Pop was really good and they really rocked out. And then
they went through the charade of having an encore.
Yes, and then of course their encore was like the fucking business. And then Jonathan Coulton came out. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's the dude who
Joko, what's up?
He wrote the Portal song. You know, I'm not even angry.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
He's basically the king of nerd music right now.
I mean, it's like I won't say he's filky because he's really not. I feel like he's a step up from filk.
Well, the thing is, really, it is filk. I mean, it's nerdy folk music. But
yes, but you listen to other filk and it does not sound like him.
The thing is the difference is other people who do filk often do not have musical talent. Jonathan Coulton is loaded with musical talent. He can sing and play the guitar.
You know what? I'm going to say
play
this.
many other instruments.
It was not filk. It was nerdic folk.
Perhaps.
There's a difference. It is real folk
You
music.
just want to give it a different genre because the quality is on another level.
No, because listen to filk. Filk is usually like cringeworthy inside baseball nerdery. Folk is really soulful. And I gotta say, his Flickr song, especially with the Flickr images up on screen, that was actually that was a moment with the crowd. Like that was really cool.
Yeah, Jonathan Coulton is not only is he wicked awesome, and his thing is he spans the gaming crowds, right? He's got the tech crowd, right, with his because he was a programmer before he was a musician. He's got the gaming crowd with his Portal stuff. Right?
He's all about the Creative Commons open source business.
Yeah, he's totally with the open source crowd. He was on Twit once or twice, right? He played Rock Band with Leo Laporte and them. He's all over everything, and he's totally awesome in every way.
So, he does his concerts really good, does a lot of great songs.
He's wearing a shirt that was like, the internet is awesome.
It just said, the internet is awesome.
Yep.
Everyone's waiting for him to do the Portal song, and finally he's like, all right, I'm going to do that song. And then Felicia Day walks out.
I didn't know who that was, but it didn't matter.
That's because Scott's a heathen, bastard.
It was some girl everybody liked.
Yeah, she was in Dr. Horrible. In one of the Penny Arcades, I believe a line that Tycho in the comic spoke was, I just want to, groom her. And apparently...
Supposedly he did.
Supposedly, because she's totally awesome, when they met, she handed him a brush, turned around, and said, groom away.
Nah.
He said, supposedly, it was like petting a unicorn.
Alrighty.
So,
doesn't he have a wife? Isn't grooming his wife like petting a unicorn?
I don't think Emily would complain if I petted Felicia Day on the head with a brush.
Okay.
Anyway, I totally would too. She is so cool.
Anyway. She was good at singing, that's for sure.
She sang the Portal song. Of course, also, the entire crowd sang the Portal song.
How could they not?
And it was great. And, his concert was awesome, but then he had visual components because, he has this Flickr song. And the deal with that was that he took pictures from Flickr that were Creative Commons, which is the point of the Creative Commons, wrote a song about them and showed them during the song to the music. And he did this funny bit with the tech guy where he pulls up this DVD.
Oh. The tech guy.
He's like, put the tech and he had this back and forth, and the tech guy had a microphone. He snarked back at him a few times, and they totally did this who's on first business with play the video. So he turns up the DVD, and it says 2 buttons, play this one, not this one. And they did like this 8-minute, or maybe it was like 5 minutes, but who's on first, I don't know, on third.
And of course, the whole time, the audience is like, because... It's basic psychology. There's the one he's supposed to click on and the one he's not supposed to. Everyone wants to see the not supposed to one, right?
I'm going to say this right now.
Your curiosity, you can't resist.
I'm going to say this right now. No one in that fucking room saw it coming. But anyway,
Jonathan Colton saw it coming, and so did Bart the Soundman.
he might not have.
Or Brad, I think was his real name.
It started with a B.
Anyway.
Much like Lounge B, you see?
Yeah.
The best.
So
B's
he
for
clicks
best.
on the one he's supposed to click on.
And it's the awesome Flicker song.
Right.
And then, he's like, all right, that's it. And then Bart's like, or Beth, or Bort. It's Bort. He's Bort now.
His real name was Brad, but he made a joke of calling him Bart all the time.
I'm going to call him Bort.
All right.
Because there's no more Bort license plates. He's totally screwed. And the crowd's like, click on it. And Bort's like, so should I click on it? And the thing is, Jonathan Colton played it totally straight. He's like, no, don't click on that. What's wrong with you? Let's just move on. So he just clicks on it. And it was totally a Rickroll. It was the whole music video just there. It was brilliant. And the thing is,
I didn't think a Rickroll could be brilliant again, but there it was.
the whole crowd,
I should have seen it coming.
no one groaned. Everyone basically said, wow, you got me. You got us all. They played like half the music video. It was super funny.
He really played sort of like this, sort of slightly antagonistic of the audience. He was like, when people were yelling stuff at him, like, play this, play that, he was like, listen, I have prepared a set list to maximize your entertainment value.
But maybe I should just throw that all away and play Freebird because someone yelled it.
He's like, you're yelling Freebird at a Geek concert. What the fuck's wrong with you?
So then he pulls out this device and he talks about his, he did a thing where like every Friday.
He did this thing called song a week where he played, he basically wrote a song every week for a whole year.
And like, after 2 weeks, he ran out of
Some
ideas.
of those songs are good, most of them are bad.
So he tells the whole story about the Mr. Fancy Pants song, and then he basically pulls out the device that was the only way he could make that song work.
The Zen drum.
All I want to say about the Zen drum is that it was a really great song as a result, and it was really funny. That song was almost a stand-up comedy routine because of that device, reminiscent of Dana Carvey's stand-up back in the day.
Yeah. If you want to know more about the Zen drum, basically, it's a MIDI controller that you can wear, and then you touch the different parts of it to control whatever digital music you have prepared in advance.
And I didn't think I didn't think Rickroll could happen again, but he pulled out the Rickroll.
The one he had was $1,300, just so you know.
He pulled out the Rickroll a third time, but in such an unexpected, well-done, classy way that it was like, wow, he got us again. Oh my God.
I think he really hated the audience. You could almost think he really did hate us when he was doing that concert.
And the only other thing I want to say is that the encore that he put on.
Of course, they went to the encore charade yet again.
Why must we go through this charade? This charade? But he did it.
Just so I don't have to repeat myself, they went through the encore charade for every band at both concerts, every single time.
Jonathan Colton's encore was like, that made my con.
Yeah, he did. He did the zombies. And then people were still yelling. So he just played Sweet Caroline. Like, whatever.
Yes, and that was, oh my God. So, of course, now it's like 2:25 a.m. and I went to, oh my God, I had to go to bed.
And that was Friday. There were 2 days left.
So at this juncture, I realized we've been talking for a long time. And
It's 10 p.m. right now as we're recording this on Wednesday, and this is supposed to be a Tuesday show, so it's way overdue. And we still have 2 days or 1.5 days of PAX to talk about. The full Saturday, which is the whole day of PAX, and then the Sunday, which is almost a whole day.
not to mention the kind of press stuff we want to talk about, like the how and like the what of the convention itself and the logistics and all the behind the scenes stuff and our suggestions and our ideas.
And we didn't talk about any of the actual, video games that were playable in the PAX exhibition room that were not playable anywhere else yet, because, it's sort of like an E3-ish kind of thing.
I think what we're trying to say here is that what you just heard was PAX Part 1 of N.
Yes, we don't know how many parts there will be. But I guess this shows you that PAX was so full and so huge that our trip to Seattle and our recent, dearth of shows is now rectified because our font has been filled.
My cup
on the West
overflowing.
Coast.
So, a little preview. On Thursday, we're going to talk about Seattle. We didn't want to, conflate our West Coast trip with PAX because we want to review PAX separately.
So we're going to talk about the airports. We're going to talk about the restaurants.
We're going to talk about the Sci-Fi
tourism.
Museum.
Right, all that business.
The fact that no one in Seattle jaywalked except us.
Right, that sort of thing.
And the next Tuesday...
Right, we're giving you the whole big show schedule here.
No, I'm just telling you. Don't worry. Next Tuesday, for those of you who are looking forward to this, because I know from the con, a lot of you PAX people are looking forward to this. We're going to, Saturday includes, all the other stuff about the con that happened on Saturday in the exhibition room. And of course, our panel and the aftermath and the fucking epic shit that happened after our panel with Luke Crane and Jared Sorensen. And the fact that the PAX enforcers allowed us to do what we did.
Yeah, totally.
And all the Burning Wheel demos and all that craziness. And then we might even, I don't even know how many shows this is going to be. We're going to have another show about...
We're going to do Tuesday shows until we run out of stuff.
Yeah, so our normal schedule will hold, as in every week it'll be a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday.
We're just going to do a whole lot of shows from now until we empty this cup and get it to a more reasonable point.
I mean, there's even going to be a Wednesday on, how I realized anime cons need to be changed in a big way because PAX, anime cons do not live up now that I have seen how a convention is through the lens of PAX and the fire of Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But now, bed. So in sum, there are going to be many, many, many more shows about PAX to come. And if you are a new listener because of PAX, rest assured we have more to say.
We got a lot more to say.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.